Hey, today we're going to show you all about ribs. That's right, we're going to show you the different ways, the different types, the methods you can use, all that great stuff, tips and tricks in this series of videos. Right now, I'm going to show you the different types of ribs. We'll start off with the pork ribs. Pork ribs, you have your baby back ribs here, which is basically the top of the rib cage. Then you have, this is a St. Louis style cut, which is basically the middle part. If they were spare ribs, you'd have the St. Louis cut with the bottom part, which is the rib tips. When we move over to the top of the pig, you are going to have what's called a country rib, and it's got some of the pork shoulder in there as well. They can be bone or bone-in or boneless. So those are some of the pork ribs. On the beef side, you do have your big dino ribs here. These things are massive and delicious. It's almost like having a brisket on the bone. Then you have your short ribs right here. These are absolutely delicious as well. And this is what's called a franken or a flanked. You can see that they're thin, still have the bone in there, and usually done Asian style, which we'll get into that, the different methods and all that. But that pretty much covers the different types of ribs that you have that you can smoke and cook on a big green egg. Okay, now that we know what type of ribs we have, we're going to start preparing these ribs to get ready to cook. What we're going to do is you look at this, you want to trim some of the fat on here. So if you grab your knife and you just take, this is okay, that's not bad. You're going to want to look at the other side as well. You may grab some of this. Nothing major here, actually. You just want to get some of that off. Then you're going to take the end, and just to square it up, you're going to feel that rib right there. Just square up the ends, make it look nice. You can trim this too if you wanted to, but I like it. It looks good here. Next thing you're going to have to do is you want to take the membrane off the back. You're going to flip it over and you can see this like silver skin that's all along the back here. You want to take a knife. I always go up underneath and then turn your blade like that. You can see it lifting off. Get your finger under there and it'll just start to lift up. Once you grab it, you can usually grab it pretty good, but if you need to, grab some paper towel just so you can get a nice grip on there and pull that all the way off. There. Then you want to make sure everything's clean. So you take some more paper towel and get all the moisture off of there. As you can see, this baby back is ready to go. You're going to do the same thing to the St. Louis. You're going to get all this excess fat off of here. You're going to trim it up, square it up. You're going to feel for the bone in there. Just going to square it up. Again, you could do that at the top, the side over here. You're going to flip it over. You're going to get some of this stuff off here. And you're going to take this piece. You can see right here, this runs across the ridge. We're going to go ahead and take that off. I'm going to trim up the side. Got some of these bones right here. You want to get rid of those. Okay, we're going to flip it back over, do the same exact thing here. I might even be able to grab this one. You can see I missed a piece right there. It's all right. Let's go in and get it. Just need a little piece of paper towel. Grips the whole thing right off. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now you're going to do the same thing with the beef ribs. You're going to trim them up, get the excess fat off, all that great stuff. Now what we're going to do is we're going to season them. And one thing you're going to be able to do here with the seasoning, I'm going to get some of this out of the way here, is you're going to put a coating of mustard on there. Now I know you're thinking, mustard? That's not going to taste right. The mustard cooks off. You're never going to taste it. You're just going to put a little on there, spread it around. This is so now all the seasoning you're going to add to this is going to stick right to it. I'm going to add a little more. And for the seasoning, today we're going to use our sweet and smoky this is delicious. It's got a little sweetness in there, and you're gonna put it on. Don't be shy. You want it on the back side here. You're gonna want to get it on the sides. You're gonna flip it over. You definitely want to get it on the front here. Get all the sides. And sometimes the best way to do that, so you don't waste it, rub it on the sides. Get all that extra on there. Now there's a couple things you can do here. One, a lot of people will score the back sometimes to get some extra seasoning down in the meat. We're not going to do that today. You can also, if you're trying to save some space on your grill, you can cut this in half so you can put it in rib racks and things like that, or just have more space on the grill. You can cut them in half and get them ready. I'm going to prepare the rest of these, and then I'm going to show you the different methods of cooking. Okay, we've gone over the different types of ribs. We've gone over preparing your ribs. Now let's talk about cooking the ribs. Whether you want to smoke them, you want to do it slow and low, there are different versions that you can do. One of them is you just put the ribs on the egg, you set the egg up indirect, 250 degrees with your convector in there, or the 2 half-moon baking stones if you have the convector basket. And you just let it ride for about 4 hours till you get to an internal temperature of about 205. Then you have what's called the 3-2-1 method, which is 3 hours of smoke at 225. Then you take it off and you'll wrap it in whether it's tin foil or butcher paper, and we have our Big Green Egg butcher paper, which I recommend. I like the paper better anyways. Helps it breathe, keeps that moisture in as well, but I really do like it, using butcher paper. A lot of people will then add, once you wrap it, you add brown sugar, honey, and butter. You pick. It could be all of them. It's totally up to you and whatever your recipe recommends, or your taste for that matter. And then you have what's called a turbo method. And that turbo method is cranking the heat up 350, 375, maybe even 400, and you're putting those ribs on for maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours. I've actually tried it and it's not bad. I'm going to be honest with you. I was a little skeptical, but it did work out. So those are some of the methods that we have here with our ribs. With the 3-2-1, there's variations of that as well. It could be 2 hours of smoke, 2 hours of covered or wrapped. It could be sauced, not sauced. It's all up to you on what you like with your ribs. And the same thing goes for the beef ribs. You're going to cook those low and slow. It's the same thing. You can wrap them later on. You don't have to. Usually you don't with the short ribs. Sometimes you can braise them. You can do different things. But today, obviously, we're talking about smoking them on the Big Green Egg. So those are just some of the methods that are out there. You can also, inside the egg, put a pan for water. It is not recommended or needed, but some people like to do it to have that extra little bit of moisture inside. You can do that. You can also do where you spritz the ribs throughout the cook once an hour, something like that. You can do that as well. Those are just some of the methods when doing ribs on the Big Green Egg. Okay, now that we know all the different methods, the different types, and how to prepare them, and they're prepared and ready to go on your egg, we again have it set at about 225 degrees. We're going to open it up just a little bit because I'm getting ready to put all that cold meat on there. There's a couple of different ways you can do that. One of them is you literally just take the ribs and you just place them right here on the grid. And you can do that all across here. You got plenty of room. And when you're placing them on there, tighten them up. Don't leave them stretched out like this. Tighten them up. So that's one way of doing this. The other way is actually using a rib rack like this, and then you're going to put the ribs lengthwise in here. And again, you want to tighten them up. Tighten them up. Get them tight. That way, you get it halfway through the cook on whatever method you're using, and you're going to flip them over. So it gives them equal time to cook on each side. Those are just some of the ways you can do that. Same thing with beef. The beef, you're just going to sit right on the grid and let those cook and ride out. You're going to slow and low smoke those until they are done. Again, internal temperature of 205. Okay, now that we have our ribs smoking on the Big Green Egg, we're still about 225, between 225 and 250. We're going to take one of them off and we're going to wrap it. Now you can use tin foil, and a lot of people like doing that. I personally like the butcher paper, and we have our Big Green Egg butcher paper out here today, so we're going to do that. We're going to burp the egg. We're going to grab our tongs, grab one of the baby back ribs, and you can see they're not ready yet. If they're ready, this would actually shape like this, but we're not there yet, so we're going to put these in here. At this portion, you can spritz it. Right now, though, we're just going to put some brown sugar on there. Flip it over. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. These look delicious already. Getting some good color, getting a nice bark. That's what you want to see. You want to start seeing the meat move away from the bone. And you're getting that now. We're about 2.5 hours into the cook. Let's put this back over here, take the excess, put it back on top. That looks good there. Now I'm going to take a little butter. I'm just going to put some on top. And as you can see, this butter is very soft already, which is perfect. So I want this to melt down in there. All right. We'll wrap this up now. Center of the paper. Lift it up like this. And you want to make sure you get this nice and tight. You don't want to have an air gap in there, because then you're going to add too much steam and take away from that bark. So you want to get this right down on there and tight as possible. Do it once, flip this, and I'm going to do it again. Okay, that is ready to go back on the egg. We're going to put it on for another hour, and then we're going to take it off, and then the last hour it's going to sit in there with nothing on it and get a real good dark bark on there. You can actually do some sauce, things like that at the very end. It's totally up to you. We're going to put this back on, and we're going to enjoy it later. Stick around. Okay, I hope you learned everything you needed to know about cooking your ribs on the Big Green Egg. Whether you smoked them low and slow, turbo, 3, 2, 1, whatever the style was, we did it here today, and they look absolutely amazing. If you need any more recipes, information, please log on to our website. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified when we put up new video and new content. Thanks for watching.